In business, there's a fine line between being funny and humorous and just being a little bit stupid. So if you want to preserve your professionalism, but you want to have more of a bigger impact when you're speaking to people and hence drawing them in with a little bit of humour, then this could be the right episode for you. Hi there, it's Karen Mulholland, and this is the Experts Speak English podcast. I work with non-native speakers mostly who are experts in their own right but aren't really showing up as the expert, being seen as the expert, or getting the opportunities as the expert to really get out there and take their career or their business to the next level. So a lot of you will have been drawn in by humour. Now, humour doesn't mean to be that kind of belly laugh. You're not Father Christmas, but a little bit of laughter and a little bit of humour can go a long way in terms of making yourself approachable, pulling people into your story or your message, and basically being that little bit more approachable. People that can make you laugh tend to be people that you turn to if you need something. So being funny doesn't need to mean telling jokes as such, but if you are going to tell a joke, make sure that in a business context it's telling a story, something that immerses the audience into the scenario, and that way they're much more likely to invest their time in you, engage and connect. All of that is so much easier with a little bit of a chuckle or a laugh. A chuckle, by the way, if you're not a native speaker, is like a little kind of low profile laugh, like a not a ha ha ha, that's a laugh, and a chuckle is like a just enough to get you smiling a little bit. So how to craft your story? Well, the idea is to keep it as personal and, in my case, cocoa specific as possible, and feature yourself. Tell them what they need to know, but do it in a way that is amusing. Add an anecdote or a story like we've talked about in the last couple of episodes, and make sure that you tell them what is it that they don't get and how can you get that over in something humorous, funny, or a joke. Now, to be really effective with this, the secret ingredient is to add lots of delicious details. The more detail you give, the more you draw people into your story, your funny story in this case. And be sure that you don't start with waffle, because that kind of oozes nervousness. If you're going to tell a joke, if you're going to tell something funny, just dive on in there. Be dynamic about it. And, this will quickly draw them in to your story. Remember, there's normally a hero and a protagonist in every story. So who is that person? That has to be really clear. And, describe what they're up against, what they're struggling with. And, kind of build in some kind of emotion. Are they embarrassed? Are they feeling out of their depth or intimidated? Are they feeling paranoid? But don't just tell them they were feeling this. Set the scene. Say things that will make them realise that that's the situation. You don't have to label it as such. And include a really clear lesson or some kind of transformational arc into your story. In business, this can be amazing. Just because there's a little bit of humour doesn't mean that it doesn't have to be educational, right? And add some twists and turns. Make it a little bit less obvious. The people that you're speaking to are normally pretty smart, so they can work it out. And intelligent humour makes you seem smarter too. And make it believable, make it relatable. It's okay to show a little bit of vulnerability, and make sure that you're aiming the joke at yourself. Now, you don't have to be showing yourself up to be, unreliable on the Monday, lacking punctuality on the Tuesday, broke on the Wednesday. It doesn't have to be like that, because otherwise, you're not exactly selling yourself. But you can certainly give the people in your organisation the feeling of, oh yeah, she's made some mistakes or he's made some mistakes, but he's learned from them. He's moved on from that. And that's made him or her what she is today. So That's the skill, to use a bit of vulnerability, some what we call in the UK self-deprecating humour, to, kind of pull you in so that people can get to know you a little bit better. Because in a corporate setting, sometimes it's very difficult to really get to know someone, especially if you only ever see that person in meetings, right? Before you start, make sure that you have the story straight in your head and be absolutely clear what the punchline is. Know exactly where you want this story or this anecdote or this little tale to end. What's going to come at the beginning, the middle and the end. And make sure that you use the Ark method. So link back to what happened at the beginning of the story at the very end. That kind of closes all the loops, if you like, and it brings people into a comfortable feeling of being picked up at the end. Now, there should be a start and a middle and an end, and of course this is a humorous story, so make sure it's entertaining. Now, avoid that kind of dad joke humour. That's fine at home when you're with family and friends, but maybe not the best choice for the workplace. Tedious jokes, So try not to make those kind of jokes, if at all possible. Easier said than done, but you know what the best way is to find out, right? Run it past somebody else. Coco's communication challenge for today is to grab a piece of paper, and on the left hand side I want you to start your story collection, okay? And it can be something. On my list I've got things like moving to Oberstdorf, taxi in London, green 4, that's a story in Finland, hot, another Oberstdorf story, hot curry, Finn. So it's just bullets. Don't mean anything to you now, I know, but they mean something to me, and just looking at that list just is enough to trigger that story. And on the right hand side, you don't have to have each story pointing to a different one, but on the right hand side I want you to write a list of messages or a list of topics, a list of skills, that kind of thing. So on mine I've got things like proper planning, cost cutting, confidence, unnecessary conversation, habits, speaking skills, multilinguality, improvisation, that kind of thing. Now you should have at least 12 of these that tie into your zone of genius. So, for example, every one of my clients should choose 3 zones of genius. It's completely unrealistic to expect you to have more than 3 zones of genius, because otherwise they wouldn't be zones of genius, would they? I'm talking brilliance now, right? So mine would be communication, e-learning and culture. 3 zones of genius. Now you will undoubtedly have 3 different things, and you should have 4 subsections within those things. So that gives you 12 mini zones of genius, like subsections, and those should all appear on the message side, but you might have some more as well. And this message and story list should be evolving all the time. Try and come back to it on at the end of the week, or when you're planning your week ahead, and just jot down the funny things that have happened to you that week. It doesn't have to be ha 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 funny, just something kind of quirky, or something that made you smile, or something that made you realise, oh, that was really stupid. Anything like that can go on your list, and then you're ready to go. When you do want to explain something, you can come back to your list and see what you can put together. Later you'll be matching the stories and the messages to come up with the right little anecdote for that particular communication challenge that you have. You could set yourself a little objective to try and tell 1 story a week, 1 funny anecdote a week. It could be to your colleague. It could be to your partner, your kids. It doesn't matter who you tell it to. That's the great thing about communication. You can practice with practically anyone. And strangers are great because they're never going to see you again, are they? So make yourself a little target to tell at least 1 funny little story a week. And like anything in life, this gets easier with practice. And the more cool stuff you do, the better your stories will become. So get out there, experience something new, and that actually shows you to be an interesting person. So get out there, do something different, stretch that comfort zone. authenticity is funny. Being yourself is humorous, because we're all humans, but we do crazy things, don't we?
And life can be pretty weird, so let's take advantage of that, shall we?
Whether it's shopping with 15 coat hangers over your arm, like I explained last week, or getting all the way to the bus and forgetting your mask, because it's the only thing you need to wear your mask on these days, or whatever it is. These make you human. They make you approachable, and you don't have to go around talking yourself down. But authenticity is very funny.
And that's why comedians use situational comedy to really pull you into their story, make it something that everybody can relate to.
So don't waffle, get to the point, and keep it tight. Brevity is the soul of wit, Shakespeare said. So take a leaf out of his book. So be funny, be engaging, and to do that, structure is critical. There are people that can just show up at the pub and just tell jokes after jokes. But certainly in the UK, you can go to the bar and there will be one of those people that can just tell joke after joke after joke. And you're thinking, where the hell does he get these from? Absolutely amazing. I am not one of those. But you can split it up into 3 sections. There's the preparation and setting up your story, setting the scene, if you like.
Then you can build in a little bit of suspense
with what's going to come next. And then of course there's the punchline. That's what you need to work on. So it's the prep or the setup, the anticipation, setting the scene, and the punchline. And if you do want to focus on one particular thing, I've got one little trick for you. Try and put that word at the end of your sentence. So say for example if you said
we had 80% growth,
that's stronger than saying we had a growth
of 80%,
because we are pulled into that last word. So try that out.
So you have the setup, the suspense, and the punchline.
Get into the joke fast, don't waffle, and make sure that you don't have too many words. Don't make it too long and complicated and lots of little words together. Try and get to the point, because people don't have the patience or the concentration. They just want to get it. And if you're smart with words and if you're really preparing, then you will be able to keep it really tight. So that's about it for my short show on humour. There's a lot more I could tell you about humour. But of course, if you want to work with me and find out how you can find your funny bone, if you like, then feel free to reach out for a virtual tea break and I'll find out a bit more about you, what it is you want to tell. And then if you want to work with me, that's great. And if not, I'll certainly give you a few tips and get you thinking and speaking in English.
And if you're based in Berlin, I have 3 appointments left for my Pimp My English programme. The prices are going up in August, so if you want to jump onto that, feel free to hit the link in the show notes. And join me in Berlin for a ridiculously enjoyable and inspiring coaching experience. And I have 3 extra tips for you on my website, so go to EnglishSpeakingExperts /ESE129 and you will find those 3 extra tips. You've been listening to Corinne Wilhelm on Experts Speak English. Take care now and have a fabulous week. Goodbye.